Hey everyone, and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul, and today we're bringing you a dual unboxing as well as an overview and some more details on these new products from Intel. This is the Intel NUC, or Next Unit of Computing. Now, if you're not familiar with the NUC, this is essentially a bare bones computer. It's also a very, very small form factor, actually UCFF, which is the ultra compact form factor. The models that we have right here are the DC3217 IYE, and then we also have the DC3217BY. So there's a slight difference between the two of these, but other than that, they're very similar, so I'll be taking a closer look at both. But the black one here, main difference is that you get a gigabit Ethernet port and two HDMI outs versus the red one, which gives you an HDMI out and a DisplayPort / Thunderbolt combo out. Actually, input or output. Taking a closer look here at the back, again, this is a bare bones computer, so it will not work immediately out of the box. What you get included in the unit is the Intel desktop board. That's a D33217GKE. You also get a VESA bracket, so you can mount this directly to the back of a monitor or a TV. And then you also get the power adapter to plug it in. In order to finish off your little computer, you need some memory. You need SODIMM memory more specifically. That's the form factor typically used in notebooks. You also need an Sata drive for storage. You could add in a wireless module if you want wireless connectivity, although on this one at least you get the included network adapter, gigabit network adapter I should say, and then you'll also need an AC power cord in order to plug in the device and get it all set to go. Apart from that, some more information here on the back from Intel. This is based on an Ivy Bridge processor, so you get some of Intel's newer technology such as anti-theft, WiDi. It's also fully Windows 8 compatible. That said, let's go ahead and take a closer look in the box. Now, I can't go without showing you guys this part, and that is, it's just part of the packaging. But when you open the box, it makes the little Intel noise right there. It's got a little sensor. Here, I'll do it again. So anyway, at the very least, if you get one of these, you can just keep doing that over and over again. It's kind of fun. So included in the box here, you have an AC power brick. So this is external. It's a little FSP group power adapter. You will need the AC cable in order to complete this device, plug it into the wall, and get power running to it. Now, this is a fairly standard form factor or interface that's used in a lot of notebook adapters. So chances are you might have one around. If not, they're not too expensive to purchase. Part of this being a bare bones system. Here's the rest of the accessories included in the box. So let's see. First off, driver and BIOS information. What are they telling you here? Driver and BIOS updates are available for download from this Intel Download Center location. Attention, Intel Next Unit of Computing Kit. So this is just sort of telling you more specifically what it doesn't include. Some wireless adapters that have been tested and are compliant with this. List of tested memory SATA devices that are also tested and confirmed by Intel to work, so you can use that as sort of a guide to get the rest of your components going. Here is the NUC itself, and again, this is the DC3217 IYE version. So this is the black version, and this is the one that comes with the gigabit Ethernet and dual HDMI connectors. Here's your VESA mount. So it's got standard VESA mounting holes, so you can use this to easily connect the device to the back of a monitor. Gives you a very slim computing solution, ideal for use for like a home theater PC or something along those lines. Of course, you don't have to use that. The NUC has rubberized feet on the bottom that you can use by itself. Look, they've also given you the Core i3 case badge, so you don't go without that. As the processor in this unit is one of the main selling points, one of the primary costs of the unit, I should say. You get a little baggie of screws to help you attach the VESA mount as well as other components. You get a full color Next Unit of Computing guide, so this is going to sort of give you a visual approximation of installation of SSDs, for example. So here's a little MSATA SSD. There's also the half-length MSATA wireless cards, such as this one right here. There's varying options for both of those. There is a half-length as well as a full-length MSATA slot on the device. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself because I'm going to show you that in just a moment. But there's your sort of guide from Intel on the installation procedure. And there's a look at the black version. Let's take a closer look here since I've got it out and handy. Let me just peel this protective plastic off the top, just keeping the top nice and shiny. Okay, so for starters here, this is kind of the front of the unit. You have a simple power button there as well as a power activity or power indicator LED. There's a USB 2.0 port directly there on the front. Not much to say on either side there, so it has a very clean look. It's also very small. I'll give it a measurement in just a moment. But then here on the back, we also have the AC power input, 2 more USB 2.0 ports. Again, this is a version with 2 HDMI outs, so you can push 2 monitors from this. This also has Intel HD audio, which is 7.1 channel audio connection. In order to access those, it's available via the HDMI outs. So you're either going to want to use a pass-through for HDMI or an HDMI monitor or other like a receiver that has capability to access the audio. Finally, you have a gigabit Ethernet connector right there, so you can do wired Ethernet with this one. There's a couple ventilation holes here, and that is for the cooling solution for the CPU. There's a Kensington lock right there, so since this is a very tiny computer and it's very portable, Kensington lock will help you lock it down and make sure that no one passing by can say, ooh, computer, snag. Here at the bottom you have 4 rubberized feet. Inside, recessed in each one is a Phillips head screwdriver. Also a bit more ventilation here. This is going to allow some fresh air to pass into the unit, so make sure you are giving this a bit of space underneath to make sure that you can have air into those holes, because that's one of the primary cooling functions. Also, you got your Intel data chart there with all the FCC and other notifications. Since I've already taken a closer look at this one, let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the Thunderbolt unit. So here's our red unit, the DC3217BY, and I won't take you guys through the full unboxing on this one because all of the accessories are exactly the same. But a closer look at this, it is sort of a darker red color, so it's not really like a hot rod red or anything like that. It's a bit more subdued. But apart from that, the front power and drive activity lights, USB 2.0 port. Main difference here on the back, so for connectivity we have a single HDMI out. We also have a mini DisplayPort connector, and that's also a Thunderbolt connector. So if you're not familiar with that, you can daisy chain Thunderbolt devices off of this. You can also use it as a display out. So on this particular device, you can connect your display either via the HDMI or with a compatible DisplayPort connector. That is DisplayPort 1.1A compatible. Also the HDMI on this, as well as the other unit I showed you, is 1.4A compatible. So you can use this to connect devices, high-speed connections, for example, and then you can also pass it all the way through to use it as your monitor connection. So that being the primary difference between these two units, and let me bring this one back in so you can sort of take a look side by side. And my assessment of this, because there's lots of different applications for this, it being such a small computer, but it's going to be really at home, say as a home theater PC, I'm sure is going to be a really popular implementation for this. And I would say go with the black unit on the bottom if you know you're going to be near at hand to your router and you can do a direct Ethernet connection. Go with the unit on the top if you're going to want Wi-Fi connection, and you will need to add that Wi-Fi card in. Also, of course, if you want Thunderbolt connectivity, this is definitely the one to go with. So I'm going to go ahead with a quick disassembly of this item because it is a bare bones computer, and if you purchase it and actually want to use it, you're going to need to do roughly what I'm doing right now. So here's the base. It's just got those, again, 4 Phillips head screws. They're screws, not screwdrivers. So after removing that, we can see the internals. So we can see our very, very tiny motherboard that's right there. And we can also see where we would add on some of our devices. So first off, you have some SODIMM slots. 2 of those right there. They are SODIMM. They're capable of handling DDR3 memory, speeds of 1066, 1333, or 1600. You can actually do up to 8 gig DIMMs in here, so you can do up to 16 gigs of memory. And if you've never installed an SODIMM memory before, it's actually quite easy. Just drop it in kind of at an angle like that, push down, and it snaps into a place. And there you go. I'd recommend purchasing your memory in identical pairs so you can make use of the extra bandwidth of dual channel, because it is dual channel capable. Now next up, over on this side here, which is kind of hidden by these wireless antenna, you have a couple Sata ports. Now if you're not familiar with this, it's Sata. It's physically the same as Mini PCI Express, but essentially you have a half-length slot down there below, and you have a full-length slot up there above. I happen to have a full-size or a full-length Sata SSD right here, and again, installation fairly simple. Just install it at an angle like that, push down, and then what I should have done is remove that little screw first. You remove the screw, put it down, put the screw in, and then that holds it in place. So you have a few different options here for what you might want to do. Of course, you're going to want some storage, so you're probably going to want an SATA SSD like that one. I would recommend probably at least 64 gigs if you want sort of a standard operating system environment, as well as capability to have some programs on there. Bear in mind, as this is a small unit, you could probably do network storage for the if you want to stream video or something like that locally. Apart from that, with the half-height slot down there at the bottom, that's probably going to be used as a wireless card in most circumstances, although if you have another half-length MSATA card that can fit in there, go for it. There are also MSATA TV tuners that you could drop in there if you are going to do a full-on HTPC with TV tuner. And then the tape right here is actually covering 2 leads for the antenna. So if you have a two-way antenna for your wireless card that you purchase, such as many of the Intel Centrino wireless cards that are available, simply attach those 2 leads right there. They're already wired up and around the case to give you some good coverage for your wireless connectivity. Lastly, I'm actually going to pull the board out itself to give you guys a look at the CPU side. So our tiny little motherboard came out with just the removal of 2 screws. Very, very easy to work with, I'm very happy to say, as when you're working with a small form factor like this, space as well as actually being able to get in there and do the work you need to do is always a consideration. Let me give you guys a quick measurement, since I said I would. So the actual housing of the unit measures just shy of 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches, as you can see there. So very tiny, and it is square, like that. So if I line that up properly. So about 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches on that. Height-wise, we're at about less than 2. I know I'm being quite imprecise here, but about an inch and a half, probably a little bit closer to 2 with the lid on. And then for our actual motherboard itself, and again, this is the UCFF, or Ultra Compact Form Factor, which I'm not sure if it's an official standard yet, but if it is, it's going to be about a 4-inch by 4-inch motherboard that is less than 2 inches tall, which is quite tiny. So there you have it. Tiny little motherboard, and it's cool to see how small these are getting, especially with the amount of power that you have involved. So there's sort of a closer look at the MSATA slots that I showed you. My SODIMM memory is still installed right there. And then flipping over to the other side, what I wanted to show you guys was the cooling unit, because under here is where you have both your CPU as well as your chipset. So the CPU in here is an Intel Core i3 3217U. Now that's an Ivy Bridge processor. It's based on the 22nm manufacturing process. Also for your chipset, you have an Intel QS77 Express chipset. Now the processor is a dual core, it includes hyperthreading, so you get 2 physical cores, 4 logical cores, runs at 1.8 gigahertz, has a 3 megabyte cache, and the U in the name, 3217U, indicates that it is a low power CPU, so the TDP is only 17 watts, which is why this can run off of that tiny little power brick, which is also why it's going to be a good solution for an HTPC or something that you don't really want drawing too much power. Also, since you also have graphics integrated, that's also part of the processor. That gives you Intel HD 4000 graphics, and that will have a variable frequency that's going to run at between 350 and 1050 megahertz, depending on the load that you're putting on it. So there is a closer look at your internals. And that's going to wrap it up for this unboxing and overview video on the NUC, or Next Unit of Computing, brought to you by Intel. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. If you enjoyed today's video, you can find more on our Newegg YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more tech videos. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.